Ladies, let me break this down for you because this right here is one of the slickest lines a man will throw at you. He'll look you in the eye, smile, be all smooth and charming, and say something like, "I'm not looking for anything serious right now." And let me tell you, when he says that, you better hear it loud and clear. That's not just a sentence, that's a full-on warning label. That is a man telling you he's not ready, not willing, and not planning to step up and give you what you deserve. Now, here's where it gets tricky. A lot of women hear that and think, well, maybe he'll change, or maybe he just needs time. But let me ask you something. Since when did a grown man need convincing to do right by a good woman? You don't need to wait around hoping he'll see the light. A man knows what he wants. When he sees a car he wants, he doesn't stand around the lot thinking for weeks. He gets the keys. When he wants a job, he suits up and shows up. When a man is serious about a woman, he makes it known. So if he's telling you up front he doesn't want anything serious, he's being honest, but he's also letting you know that you are not a priority. And you should believe him the first time. See, what's really happening is this. He's laying the groundwork to have a relationship with no responsibility. He wants the good stuff, your time, your affection, maybe even your body, your loyalty, your emotional support, but he doesn't want to be accountable to you. He doesn't want to check in, plan ahead, or invest his energy in your future together. He wants to live like a single man while enjoying the perks of your presence. That's a man who's not looking to build with you. He's looking to borrow your love without paying the price of commitment. Let me tell you something I've learned. Time is one of the most valuable things you've got. And once you give it away, you don't get it back. You could spend 6 months, a year, even more with a man who already told you from day one he wasn't serious, and then when he walks away or ends up marrying someone else, you're sitting there hurt, wondering what you did wrong. Baby, you didn't do anything wrong. Just didn't walk away when you heard the truth the first time. Now, some men will even double down and say something like, "I just got out of something," or "I need to focus on myself right now." And hey, maybe that's true, but that doesn't mean you're supposed to be the one waiting on standby while he figures himself out. That's not your role. You're not his rehab center. You're not his life coach. You're a woman, a queen, and you deserve to be with someone who is ready to meet you where you are. If he's not in a place to love you fully, then he's not the one. Simple as that. Let me flip the script a little so you can see it clearly. If a man went to a restaurant and said, "I'm not hungry, I'm just here for the smell," would that make sense? Of course not. But that's what happens when a man says he doesn't want anything serious. He's just browsing, enjoying the vibe, but he's not placing an order. And you're not an appetizer to be sampled. You're the full course. Don't let anyone treat you like a side dish when you're the main event. You've got to be strong enough to say, "Thank you for your honesty, but I'm looking for more." Don't try to convince him. Don't try to wait him out. If he tells you he's not ready, believe him. And don't take it personal. It's not that you're not good enough. It's not that you're lacking anything. The truth is, he's the one who's not enough for you. He's not enough to rise to your level, to meet your energy, to stand beside you like a real man. A woman who knows her value doesn't beg to be chosen. She walks away from anything that doesn't recognize her worth. That line, "I'm not looking for anything serious," is not romantic. It's not respectful. It's a loophole. And you're too valuable to be someone's loophole. When a man wants to build with you, he'll make his intentions clear. He won't hide behind vague statements and loose boundaries. He'll say, "I want you," and he'll show it every day. Until then, don't waste your time hoping a man will change. Let him go find what he's looking for while you make room for what you truly deserve. Let me tell you something that's going to save you a whole lot of heartache down the road. If a man starts telling you early on that his ex was crazy, that right there is a red flag waving so hard it could knock your self-worth off balance if you ignore it. You meet a man, you're having a good time, and then out of nowhere he starts talking about his past relationship, and it ain't just a little story here or there. It's a whole monologue. Man, my ex was nuts. She was toxic, she was controlling, she was clingy. Let me tell you something. When a man starts dragging his ex through the mud like that, you better pause and pay attention. Because what he's really doing is telling on himself. See, here's the deal. Everybody's got a past. We all have relationships that didn't work out. That's part of life. But how a man talks about that past says a whole lot about who he really is. A mature man, a man who has grown, who has reflected, who has healed. He's not going to be out here slandering the woman he used to be with, even if she really did do him wrong, even if the relationship was messy. He'll take ownership of his part in it. He'll say it just didn't work out, or we weren't right for each other, because that kind of man has learned something from it. He's grown. He doesn't need to make someone else look bad to make himself feel better. But when a man constantly says his ex was crazy, what he's doing is flipping the script before you even get a chance to read it. He's trying to plant a seed in your mind so that if you ever start noticing the same behaviors or problems in him, he can blame you too. She's acting like my ex, he'll say, instead of looking in the mirror. This is how manipulation starts. And he sets the stage early so that later, if you call him out for being disrespectful, inconsistent, or emotionally unavailable, he can just say, see, you're just like her. Now, sis, don't fall for it. And let's talk about this crazy label. That word gets thrown around way too easily. What does he even mean by crazy? Was she emotional? Did she ask for communication? Did she want loyalty? Did she hold him accountable? Because let me tell you something. A lot of women get called crazy for doing what any sane woman would do in a relationship, expecting honesty, consistency, and love. If a man can't handle a woman with standards, he'll call her difficult. If he can't handle being called out, he'll call her dramatic. And if he can't handle consequences for his actions, he'll label her crazy to dodge responsibility. See, what he's trying to do is make you feel like you have to prove you're not like her. And once you're in that mindset, you start walking on eggshells. You stop speaking up. You let things slide. You accept less because you're afraid of being the next crazy ex he talks about. That's a dangerous game. Because the minute you start silencing your needs to avoid a label, you've already started losing yourself. Let me be real with you. Some people do have toxic tendencies. But if that's truly the case, a man who's emotionally mature won't just be blaming her. He'll be reflecting on why he stayed so long. What did he ignore? What patterns does he need to break? A man who's done the work will talk about his past with accountability, not just accusations. He'll say, I stayed too long, or I should have seen the signs, not just she was crazy, because a relationship takes two. And blaming everything on the other person is just emotional immaturity dressed up as a sob story. Don't let him convince you that he's the victim of every relationship he's ever had. That's not a man who's ready to love again. That's a man who's still caught in bitterness, denial, or straight up lying. And you don't need to be his emotional rebound or his image rehab. You're not here to clean up his narrative. You're here to build something real. And real can't be built on a foundation of blame and drama. So when you hear a man say, my ex was crazy, don't just nod and go along with it. Ask yourself, what is he really saying here? Is he showing emotional maturity or just throwing shade? Is he healing or hiding? Because if he still has to tear her down to lift himself up, trust me, he hasn't done the work. And if he hasn't done the work, then he's not ready for a woman who has. You've got to protect your peace. Your heart is not a place for someone still running from the lessons of their past. And any man who wants a future with you will come with honesty, growth, and a clear sense of who he is. Not just a long speech about how everyone before you was a villain. Don't be afraid to walk away from that mess. You're not the cleanup crew. You're the blessing he's not ready for. Let me talk to you about one of the most misleading, smooth-talking lines a man will ever use on a woman. It sounds like a compliment, but it's got trouble written all over it. He'll say it with a soft voice, maybe even with a little emotion behind it. You're too good for me. Now, to some women, that sounds sweet. It sounds like humility, like this man is in awe of you, like he's being honest and vulnerable. But let me break it down for you. It's not romance. It's a red flag dressed up like flattery. What he's really saying is, I see your worth, I recognize your value, but I'm not ready to rise up to meet it. That line is a setup. He knows you're a good woman. He sees your loyalty, your kindness, your intelligence, the way you carry yourself, the way you love. He knows you're not like the women he's played games with in the past. And because of that, he already knows he can't get away with the same nonsense. He knows you're not going to tolerate the lies, the inconsistency, the disrespect, or the bare minimum. So instead of doing the work to be a better man, he gives you this "you're too good for me" line to lower your expectations or give himself an extra. Now here's what happens next, and I've seen it too many times. You hear that and your nurturing instincts kick in. You start thinking, well, maybe I can show him he's good enough. You start encouraging him, lifting him up, pouring into him. You become his therapist, his cheerleader, his life coach, all while trying to convince him that he's worthy of you. But here's the truth. The minute you have to convince someone they deserve you, you've already stepped into a one-sided relationship. You've put yourself in a position where you're overgiving and he's underperforming, and guess what? He warned you. A man who tells you you're too good for him is not planning to step up. He's setting the stage for disappointment. He's telling you that he already knows he can't meet your needs. And instead of improving, he's asking you to lower your expectations or accept him the way he is. That's not love. That's emotional laziness. A real man doesn't run from a good woman. He levels up to keep her. See, when a man really values you, when he knows you're something special, he doesn't step back, he steps forward. He says, I don't want to lose you, so I'm going to become the man you deserve. He may be scared, he may be flawed, but he takes action. He doesn't hide behind compliments or excuses. He says, let's grow together. That's what partnership looks like. Now let's look at what happens when you ignore this red flag. You stay with him, thinking you can love him into being ready. You keep showing him how amazing you are, hoping he'll finally feel confident enough to match your energy. But all that ends up happening is you keep giving and he keeps taking. And after a while, you realize you're doing all the work, carrying the relationship, initiating all the conversations, planning the future alone. And when it all falls apart, you're drained, confused, and questioning your worth. But remember what he told you. You were too good for him. He meant it. He knew from the beginning he couldn't meet you where you stood. He just didn't have the courage to say, I'm not ready. So he dressed it up in flattery, hoping he would soften the blow. Don't fall for that. You deserve a man who sees your goodness and wants to protect it, not run from it. A man who feels lucky to have you and does everything in his power to keep you. A man who doesn't feel intimidated by your strength, but inspired by it. If he says you're too good for him, believe him and then let him go. Because the truth is, he probably is right, But that doesn't mean you have to stay and shrink yourself to make him comfortable. You are not here to downgrade your standards to match someone's insecurity. You are not here to slow down your growth so someone else can catch up. And you are definitely not here to be a life lesson for a man who refuses to rise. Love should challenge you, yes, but it should never make you feel like you're too much for someone to handle. The right man won't be scared of your goodness. He'll be grateful for it. He won't say, you're too good for me. He'll say, I've been praying for someone like you, and I'm going to do right by you. So if a man looks you in the eyes and tells you you're too good for him, don't try to prove him wrong. Let him walk. And while he's figuring himself out, you go ahead and make space for the man who doesn't just recognize your worth, but is ready, willing, and able to rise up and honor it every single day. Let me tell you something real today, because a lot of women out here are wasting time with men who love to say one sentence that sounds deep, sounds philosophical, but is really just a ticket to nowhere. That sentence, I don't believe in titles. Oh yeah, he says it cool, calm, collected, might even throw in something about how labels ruin things. Why do we need to define what we have? Isn't love enough? Sounds spiritual, right? Sounds enlightened. But don't be fooled. That man is not being wise. He's being slippery. When a man says he doesn't believe in titles, what he's really saying is this: I want access to you without responsibility to you. It's not about love, it's about freedom. His freedom, not your peace. He wants to do boyfriend things, husband things even, but without calling himself your man. Why? Because then he can dip when he wants. He can change up on you. He can keep his options open and still come lay next to you at night, pretending everything's solid. But baby, a connection with no clarity is nothing but confusion in disguise. See, here's how it starts. You meet, you vibe, you go out a few times, everything seems nice. Then you start getting closer. Maybe you start staying over. Maybe y'all text all day, talk on the phone for hours. You're laughing, sharing secrets, maybe even getting intimate. And naturally, as a woman with a heart, you start wondering, so what are we? And when you ask, he hits you with that line, I don't believe in titles. That's his escape route. That's his way of saying, don't expect anything official from me, even though I'm acting like we're in a relationship. And here's the catch. Because he hasn't technically committed to you, he'll make you feel crazy for expecting anything at all. If you get upset about him talking to another woman, he'll say, well, we're not together. If you ask him where this is going, he'll say, let's not ruin a good thing by putting pressure on it. But it's not pressure to want clarity. It's not pressure to want commitment. That's just called standards. Let me break it down this way. You wouldn't work a full-time job without a title and a contract, would you? You wouldn't show up every day, give your energy, your time, your talents, and not know if you're even officially on the payroll. So why would you give your heart, your body, your loyalty to a man who won't even call you his woman? A man who loves you and respects you will want to claim you. He will be proud to call you his girl, his woman, his lady, his queen. Not because of ego, but because of honor. Because when a man is serious, he understands that naming something means taking responsibility for it. When he puts a title on it, he's saying to the world, this is mine, and I'm accountable for how I treat her. But a man who dodges titles is dodging accountability. He wants all the benefits with none of the commitment. And let's be real, if you hear him say, I don't believe in titles, check his past. Chances are he had titles before. He called somebody his girlfriend. He introduced someone as his ex. So clearly he does believe in titles, just not with you. And that's the part that stings, because when a man is really into a woman, when he's serious, he doesn't hesitate. He wants to lock it down. He doesn't want to risk someone else coming in and recognizing your value. So if he's hesitating, if he's dancing around commitment, don't buy into the idea that it's just his beliefs. It's a choice, a convenient one. Now, I know some women hear that line and start negotiating with themselves. Maybe he's just scared. Maybe he needs time. Maybe I'm being too traditional. Let me stop you right there. You're not too traditional for wanting commitment. You're not too demanding for wanting to be claimed. You're not clingy, needy, or intense. You're clear. You're honest about what you want. And any man who makes you feel like your standards are a burden is not the man for you. You deserve clarity. You deserve peace. You deserve to know where you stand. And a man who refuses to give you a title is a man who wants the right to disappear when it's no longer convenient. Don't let him string you along, calling you special, different, or his favorite person, but still introducing you as my friend at the cookout. If he can't say, "This is my woman," in public, then he doesn't deserve your love in private. Listen, you've worked too hard on yourself, come too far, prayed too many prayers to end up in a situationship with a man who's allergic to commitment. Stop settling for conversations with no confirmation, attention with no intention, chemistry with no clarity. Love isn't confusing, it's consistent. And a man who wants you will make it undeniably clear. So the next time a man tells you, "I don't believe in titles," smile, stand tall and say, "Well, I believe in standards," and then walk away with your dignity intact.